years. For the sheriff. We should get you a mechanical eye.
I didn't want to email it because I should be off a lot of facts.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So I talked about something too.
So
I was like, give me some out of it.
send that rest of them there.
In your emails.
I should use.
Is he trained? He says something about changing the email.
Oh.
But it's different.
Tour go well? The tour go well?
Yeah.
Everybody loves the gallery idea.
I'm well, how are you on? Okay. I don't know.
Not finding anything, but we can see if I can find a lead. Rather sometimes when it's
So.
the whole thing, one thing I.
We'll take it.
And then I asked him inside of us, it's got a, what would I search for there, you buy that. And then,
Support, I saw that.
He was not.
She said it, so I'm gonna just.
It wasn't on 10:30.
Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's clearly they come up to so. It's easy to change that, so if you just want.
Yeah, right.
30 minutes, so.
For the member IDs and then
Well, it's-
the.
I know, like either water.
Water.
Yeah, so that's.
Oh, that's on the. Well.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the Minturn Town Council meeting of April 1st, 2026. Roll call, please.
Peter?
Brian here. Dusty here.
Eric here. And Earl's here. Would all please stand for the pledge of allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. And we have just the minutes, so we'll take a motion.
I'll just make one comment on the meeting minutes from last week. On
Okay.
page 3, it says that I'm excused absent and I was here,
Okay, so
but that's the only thing.
Excuse that, she was here.
I mean, it shows me here later doing things, but on page 3, it shows me excused absent.
thank you. Okay, thank you.
But I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Kate, second by Gusty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have a few additions to our agenda. If anybody was looking at their agenda online earlier. And we've got them all that on your handouts up there too. So we can go ahead and move forward with this. Would you want to through the additions? Or?
Just the one change would be, we'd like to move the William Street water main loop, which is 11B, to after 10C. Because 10B, C, and then that would be Jeff. So just for now. Let's do it all of us.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with those changes amended.
I'll second that.
Motion by Eric, second by Gusty. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Does any board member have a conflict of interest on any item on the agenda tonight? Okay. Next, we have public comment. If there's anyone out in the public that wishes to address council on any issue that's not on the agenda, please step forward, state your name and your address.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jason Boston. I'm an Eagle County resident. And I just wanted to take an opportunity to introduce myself to you guys. I'm a candidate for Eagle County Sheriff. I qualified for the primary ballot in June through our caucus and assembly. I have a clear and practical vision to foster community-focused partnership, transparent and unified leadership, and accountability. I spent my career in public service, beginning as an infantryman with the U.S. Army, 1st Infantry Division, where I learned discipline, accountability, and how to make decisions when people's lives are on the line. As a soldier deployed in support of peacekeeping missions, I saw that real progress comes from trust, earned by working with communities. Leadership means partnership, and genuine collaboration builds lasting safety within our communities. I started my career in law enforcement with the Aspen Police Department, later serving as a deputy here in Eagle County with the Eagle County Sheriff's Office. And now I serve as the chief investigator for the District Attorney's Office, where I command a team that leads major investigations that include homicides, sexual assaults, use of force incidents, and complex economic crimes. I oversee personnel, budgeting, and resource management, implement best practices and policies that promote accountability, transparency, and interagency collaboration. I develop training programs, I evaluate staff performance, and I foster a culture of professionalism and psychologically safe environments. As a candidate for sheriff, I'm not just talking about collaboration. I'm out here building it every day. I believe real leadership means leading by example, showing courage through diversity, being the first one in and the last one out, and listening more than you speak. These values define who I am, and I've put these values into action, working with community partners to develop a sexual assault response protocol for our judicial district, partnering with our school district on Title IX, and a contributor to a Department of Justice paper on our overall response to domestic violence and sexual assaults. I also speak in our local high schools about our U.S. and Colorado constitutions. I've been an instructor at our police academy, and I serve as mountain safety right here in Ville, keeping our mountain ski areas safe. Whether it's mentoring high school students, working with ski patrol, or teaching new recruits at the academy, my focus is on education, prevention, and partnership. As sheriff, I'll bring the same values forward: service, integrity, and teamwork. If you'd like to learn more about me and my vision for the Sheriff's Office, you can find additional information on my website, Boston for Eagle County Sheriff, or through Facebook and Instagram at Boston for Eagle County Sheriff. Thank you for your trust, your confidence, and your support.
Jason, I appreciate you stepping up.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay. Okay, any other public comment? Please state your name and address, please.
Elliot Hovey, 653 Boulder Street. I've been meaning to come in for some time now to sort of express my concern of the speeding on Pine Street. There's a lot of kids out there, including my own 2 boys, that are playing on a regular basis. And the speed limit is 15, but I see cars going well above that. So, you know, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is lowering the speed limit. I'm not sure that would change things, but at least that's a limit. And I'd like to, you know, take the reins and try and make that happen if that's possible. I'm asking you sort of what the next steps would be to do that, if it's permitted, and, you know, what I can do to make that street safer for our kids to play on, because there's a lot of young ones running around. I know a few of you on council have kids that have been playing with my kids out there, and there have been some close calls, and honestly, close calls are not acceptable. So I'd like to ask you what we can do to make that happen, to make that street safer for our kids to play on.
Thank you. If you want to come in and make an appointment and talk with staff, they can go over that, review that.
That would probably be good, is if you could find a time where you can call and give you my number. I usually keep cards on me. I don't know if the speed limit change is our best approach, but there are a lot of other things we can do. So maybe it's just working with you in the neighborhood and figuring out what we want to try first. I'll get you one.
Should I get a petition going? Is that helpful, or is that not?
If you have like the people in the neighborhood with their contact info and you know who they are, then we can just sit down and talk and go, these are some options.
Okay.
And then we can kind of maybe do a meeting and say, let's look at this one. What are you guys feeling or thinking? And then come back to council and get approval to try whatever option we want to do first.
Okay,
And then we can also work with the sheriff's office on the enforcement side. So
okay,
there's quite a few. You can just email me at manager@minturn.org.
Yeah.
If you want to do that.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm available tomorrow or next week after two.
Okay.
Or later.
great.
Cool.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay. Cindy, anybody out there?
653 Boulder.
No one with their hand raised, Earl.
Okay. Next we have council and committee reports. Kate, you got anything?
No.
Right?
Well, no, I take that back. We did scholarship interviews this sometime in the recent past. And it's like my two favorite days of the whole year because we got some really cool kids in this town and really cool people representing Minturn in the bigger world. So it's cool to see.
Those kids are incredible.
Yeah.
They're something else.
And it's really fun to see, like, we talked to some of them, 2-3 years in a row, sometimes 4 years in a row. And it's really cool to see just how people kind of like come into their own when they go out and do new stuff. So it's really cool. It's the best committee. Nobody else can have it.
Thank you, Kate. Brian, did you have anything?
I'm on my way out, but I think after some of the RTAP meetings, being part of that steering committee, it's super cool, the energy, and I think there's opportunity to build some knowledge around town, around parks and recreation, and add some capacity where staff's limited with their time. And I think it would be a good idea to have some sort of ongoing, like, to extend that steering committee. And I don't know what format that would be in. If, official committees have to post agendas and things like that. But if there's some sort of working group or some sort of other option to keep, it's probably the most common thing I get asked about is playgrounds and parks and that kind of thing. So if anyone has any ideas or staff has ideas on how we could best kind of continue that conversation, I think that would be a good move.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good round of sessions there that we had and some good ideas there too. So I'm sure Cindy's going to, I guess they're going to still, are they still working on that?
Yeah, we're going to meet with them about kind of refining the things that they got and starting to put it together in an action plan. And then that's going to come back to council. And then, we can talk about after this, some of those things that were coming up, like we're working on. Some of those things were like really big ideas. Some of them were a little unexpected. But we could, at some point decide if there's citizens that would be interested in serving on maybe like a small like parks committee or something that maybe is like every other month or maybe once a quarter to just say, look, these are the things we're working on. That could be helpful for staff. It'd probably be something that I'd probably do with whoever's interested.
Yeah, maybe document the ideas and maybe put them online. I think that's some good ideas. Good process. Thanks for working too.
Oh, Rob, can I add to that?
Yeah, of course.
I was just going to note that the steering committee, as well as those who attended the workshop, there will be an invite coming out for 2 post-workshop calls for those who are interested. So that will be coming from the student group. We are shooting for a call the week of, actually next week, I think, and the week of the 13th. So I don't know if you got who will be available, but those invites will be coming out soon.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. Thanks for doing all that hard work on it too. Appreciate it. Okay. Tom, got anything? Dusty?
I was just gonna remind everybody, first Friday, Friday 5 to 7 at Crazy Chicken. Those are always great events. And Brian touched on a little bit going out. I just wanted to say, I really appreciate all what Brian and Earl does for the town council, being councilman, mayor, as long as you've been mayor. I really enjoyed working with both of you guys. So thanks for everything you guys have all done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to give my thanks to Earl for his long dedicated service to the town, and to Brian as well. And this isn't a committee issue, but the Rob is meeting with representatives from the Art Guild, and this is still in the very, very early planning stages. But we're talking about all sorts of Rob's coming up with a whole sorts of very creative ideas of how to have more art in the town, and more gallery space, more art workshop space. So stay tuned.
Eric? Yeah, ditto, obviously. Absolute pleasure working with you and serving with you, and seeing you, Brian. And it's yeah, it's a lot of fun being on this committee and council, and looking forward to hopefully trying to fill your shoes as best I can.
I think you'll do quite well. And I just wanted to thank everyone. Yeah, we've had a great council over the last few years, and gotten a lot of really hard work done. And I appreciate every one of you guys. And Lynn, you stepped up and have been on committees really well, and Tom and Kate and Brian, really good work, guys. Thanks for putting up with my bad jokes, by the way. Okay, from there we'll go on to staff reports.
Yeah, and I normally don't do this, but there's a few things I just want to walk through with you to just let you know where we are, what we're doing. The one side of the water treatment plant is we need to bring somebody on for construction administration. Obviously, the most likely candidate for that is HDR. They sent us a proposal. It was very thorough. It's very solid. It's a lot though, cost wise and intensity wise. So me and the town engineer Jeff Spinell and the town attorney, Mike Sawyer, have been having some conversations with that about how can we refine this? How can we bring this cost and scope down a little bit? And so we're waiting to hear back from HDR and Swiftwater, who are proposing this contract amendment. And hopefully we'll get some answers in the next few days. And then we'll talk a little bit about that at the next meeting of where we are on that for construction admin. So just want to provide that update to you. Obviously, it's on a lot of people's minds, and we're going to hear from Eagle River Water Sam about the water issues and our concerns about emergency preparedness. I know that's come up here at council several times. Me and the staff have been thinking about what things can we do to improve our capabilities to respond to an emergency, be prepared for an emergency. We have a training next week with Eagle County for our emergency management on the 14th. We've got the second digital sign. We got that, I think, a few weeks ago. So we have two. We're trying to get a list of how to equip all town vehicles with adequate supplies for emergency response, including road closure, traffic management, those type of things. We obviously approved that acquisition of that Volvo truck from the town of Vale. One of the things we want to look at maybe is how can we be prepared to, if we need, it has a trailer capability, it can pull, it's a tractor trailer. How could we pull, like a water tank if we needed to provide water to residents because there was some type of a disruption. Just trying to think about all these things as far as, hey, do we need to have a contract if we needed to rent one of these so we could provide water in an area where there's no water, things like that. We're looking at that. We're looking at talking with Eaton County Dispatch about getting two dispatch connected radios. They're very expensive. They usually run a couple $1,000s each, but in case communications go down, it would give the town some connectivity with what is going on at dispatch and how we can help respond. I'm gonna get a meeting with Eagle River Fire Protection Chief Mick Woodworth on the 15th. Hopefully Councilmember Lynn Feiger's able to attend if she's available. She's been trying to make that work. I know he's been very busy. We also are working on getting some two-way radios for staff. We have some, but more. Again, have some contingency if we lose communication, we can continue to communicate throughout town. We're also thinking about getting like two large temporary signs that would inform, and these are just like what I put together in like 30 minutes. I think it needs to be refined. It's kind of a lot. But on fire restrictions coming into town or near the road to the shooting range area. So it's very clear, like these are the fire restrictions. These are the things that are prohibited. And trying to make that message more clear. I think we had a lot of issues with that last summer, and it wasn't as severe as what we may be seeing here. So we're going to work on getting some signs for that. We're also looking at maybe doing like a digital matrix sign for a truck, because the truck could probably fit better on Main Street. And the thought there is better for communication, better for traffic management. A lot of the things people are worried about are evacuations. And I think depending on the event that we may see, we may be on our own for some time. So we're trying to think about how can we manage an evacuation or assist in that evacuation and communicating where people can get information and where they can go. One of the things I think about, because we're kind of, you can go in and out one way, that way, or this way. So it's up to Lake or it's towards Vale and Avon. And if there was a situation where we need to turn this street into a one-way road, I assume that our staff is going to probably be the first people that would be capable of doing that. That's probably going to require several trucks and 5 to 6 individuals at least. So we're thinking about how we could do that if we need to. So that's that. Real quick, we selected a contractor for Taylor Avenue repaving. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start reaching out to those residents about if they're interested in getting their driveways reconstructed. We have the contact info for the contractor if they're interested in doing that, and maybe getting a good value. Was there something else we needed to communicate on that?
Yeah, the contractor is gonna start doing utility locates next week.
So utility locates on Taylor next week. We're not starting work, but I don't want people to be too alarmed about that. And we will put up a project sign for that so people know what's going on. If they're upset about something that occurs during the project, they should email me. And, I can work with Jeff and the contract to address those concerns, whether they're noise, dust, moving their property that may be in right of way, whatever. Just send it right here. One of the follow-ups from the last meeting was Minturn Road, Railroad Avenue, the concrete sidewalk. We have some savings from the paving, somewhere around $250,000, $300,000. It would probably cost to put in the concrete sidewalk on Railroad from the railroad up to the Eco Trail, probably about $250,000 to $425,000, somewhere in that range. The one thing about that is we are short for the playground project at Little Beach Park. We only have about $175,000. We've been working with the selected contractor, and we think we're going to need somewhere around like $400,000 to really make something come together on that. $300,000 would probably be the base for playground, the equipment, all that. So total. So we have 175, so we're about like 250,000 short from delivering something. And we're going to come back to you on that item too. We just want to get maybe 2 or 3 concepts, then come to you and the public and say, which direction do you want to go? And then work from there. And then one of the things that's going to come up, and Cindy and me have been working on this, and we can work with Eric and Brian or whoever wants to be on that committee to replace Brian, is more customization is going to push that timeline on that playground past summer, whereas more standardization would bring it faster. Staff don't have a preference, but that's going to come down to the community when we show these concepts of, do we want something more custom, more special? That's going to take more time. Are we okay with that? Or do we want to be standard and move it quickly? One of the things to Councilor Priest's point about the asphalt walkway on Railroad is we could do something like temporary delineators where the sidewalk is, and we have some left over from the bump out project that didn't go super well. So we could look at deploying some of those or other things if we want to do that.
How badly that project went, yes.
So that's an option if council would like us to explore doing some type of delineation on that walkway.
You're not talking the verticals, you're just talking the small bumps on the ground.
Something like this, probably.
No. How about what they're stuck into?
Just the bottom part?
Yep.
We could look at that.
Yeah. Nobody wants that.
Okay. So
About this.
Curves fine, but the problem was that we stuck them on Main Street without telling anybody what we were doing. So like,
And-
No, we actually did door hangers in every home in town.
yeah, but they didn't understand. Like, I saw those. People don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah, but that said, as much as
And I
Brian
was taking
likes,
away parking.
much as he likes bicycles, I guarantee I turn out of the townhomes, there's gonna be 6 of them
Yeah.
all tangled up in there.
I'm still
Bikers of all
So I'm
sizes.
double inside a question. Stolfus that came in and did our Safe Streets for All grant, they say that they're like experts in the like human first mobility and this kind of thing. Like, would it be worth? We've talked. I mean, Elliot was just here talking about street safety and things. We're all just kind of like making this up. I spend a lot of time Googling things, but I'm obviously not a traffic safe streets person. Would it make sense to try to do some sort of like master contract or something where they could come in and like work on that and give them, I don't know, $5,000 so that they could like give us some suggestions over there instead of us just all making stuff up?
I mean, I could bring you a few things and say like these are things that are out there that people try and can work, and then maybe you guys can say, yeah, we love it, or like this, you're like, no, we hate it.
I still think the sign over there at the end of that bike path,
We can
or
do
the
that.
walking path would kind of help, maybe an arrow pointing from that across and then.
But no ballers.
The number of people I've seen come off that sidewalk, go right into the driveways and weave through the back end of parked cars as opposed to right across the street, this.
But the thing is, like, streets are for everybody. Like we we shouldn't make bikes go on a sidewalk into town. Like we need to look at paving. We need to look at yeah.
There's an area there for the bikers.
No, well, there's no. That's not how streets work in our town. Like streets are for kids. For like we don't have any parks in this town, so our streets are kind of our community spaces. So what we need is someone who's an expert to come in and help us understand all of the possibilities and be smart about this rather than just throw sticky.
You're talking the macro. I'm just talking Taylor Minturn Street. That area on that side was set aside to be a pedestrian bike corridor. It is not being used as that because people are still thinking that's just a parking area. So I'm just saying something as opposed to a sidewalk, which was the original plan. That is a temporary fix that can be removed in the winter, so it's not sort of plowed.
But then it dumps into a sidewalk, and you don't want bikes on sidewalks.
It's for the pedestrians, and that's what he's saying as far as the sign. There's a crosswalk that nobody uses.
Yes, I still think that like we need to bring someone in.
Well, I've got the public works director, Mike Martinez, here, and that's kind of all I had on the quick update. So Mike could talk about maybe some options he has, but also could look into what we could bring back, and Mike can come back and talk to you and say, look, these are some things we think could work.
Well, one thing that we do have is what they installed them with on Main Street. It's these asphalt pads, and we heat them up with the torch and then put the bollards on them, and they stick. And they come off easy for the wintertime. We can put those up, measure them off a certain amount of feet and go up to there. And if they don't work, then we could do what Brian said and do something different. But that's also an option. We still have those if you guys wanted to go that route.
Because obviously the cost for that sidewalk is a no-go. Or it stays as is. As Gusty noted, everybody comes off that sidewalk and then just walks into the driveways and ignores going over there. And once the market gets rolling, you're gonna have a lot of traffic.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Do you think it would help if we had like a little person walking painted there? So
Anything.
people know to walk there, like.
Pay somebody to be a guide, just go across the street. I don't know, yeah, anything. Signs, whatever works.
So we
Things
did.
I could remind the council of that we've talked about before with regard to that. The long-term solution is a raised curb and a sidewalk.
Mhm.
The reason it's so expensive to put that in is because it involves rebuilding the road at the same time, because there's no drainage on that road. And to put a slope on that road, it's all got to be lowered.
Right.
So that's one thing. The other thing I just want to say is that the railroad limited the width of that sidewalk, and they made us call it a sidewalk and not a trail, is 5 feet. They would not let it be any wider. So it's going to match what's down on Railroad Avenue.
So Public Works, at the end of last fall, we had some crack seal joint through town on Pine Street, Boulder Street, and all the avenues. We got a estimate to do more crack seal and do a sealant over the top. The price is $33,543 to do that. So I'm in contact with Seal Coats and going to schedule that out, and with the nice weather, hopefully we can get that done sooner than later.
Is that tar you were talking about?
Excuse me?
Talking about tar in the cracks?
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be tar on the cracks, and then it'll be a seal coat that goes over the top of it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be like a spray and then a squeegee that goes over the top of it to cover the area of the roadway.
Is
So
that something like the homeowner could contract with them too while they're doing it? I
sure.
was just thinking, I haven't done mine in about 5 years, I should probably do, so if they're there, I'd be more than glad to do a contract with them on my own.
Okay, yeah, I'll let them know that, if there's any additional work that will work with the additional homeowners.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
yes. And then, next Monday, we'll be starting the Grouse Creek parking lot extension. So we'll be starting on that. We're working with the Forest Service, and Sam's going to be helping us out. So we'll have our loader, mini excavator. We're going to tear out the fence, pull out all the signage and trash can, and then we'll start shrubbing it, haul that off, and then we'll get down to a good base and put some road base in there and get it all compacted and extend that parking lot so we can alleviate from all the traffic on Highway 24.
How many,
saying.
how many more parking spaces are you adding?
The total, I'm not too sure the total amount, but it's going to be 50 by 70
New.
extended. Yes.
He told me 10 in a meeting the other day.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, 10 is what we were told by VVMTA.
Thanks.
Yes.
It's great. Yeah. Sam, when he says Sam, that's Taylor Street Sam from BVMTA.
Pardon me?
Sorry, he was just asking if BVMTA was involved. And I was saying that's Sammy Chipkin from BVMTA, who's also
Yes, Sammy's going to be involved helping. He's going to bring his little mini excavator, and Forest Service is going to provide a couple guys for labor work, and we'll be working on that next week. Next Monday, we'll be starting on that.
Good deal.
And then Public Works will be starting our spring operations with weather dependent, and hooking up all of our water meters at the parks, getting those going, doing our irrigation systems, checking for leaks. And due to the lack of moisture and precipitation that we got this winter, we're going to just keep our sprinklers down to keep water usage low. And we'll just kind of monitor that and see what happens, and hopefully we get more of this rain. That's it. And then like Rob had mentioned about emergency evacuation, emergency training for staff. We're looking at doing that and seeing what Public Works can do or purchase more cones, signs, stuff like that. So that's what we got going on here in the next few weeks. Does anyone have any questions or feedback?
Please make sure the front program or the MFC is on your list of activation of sprinkler systems.
Okay.
I think you guys turn it off, but every once in a while I have to reach out because it's only the front one.
It's only the front ones, yeah, because we ripped out all that end of last year.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll look at that. Get that going for you.
Thanks to you and your crew for painting the Bellin Bridge too. It looks really nice. I
Oh,
like that.
thank you. How do you guys like the color?
Good.
A little bit different.
Enough money to rip it all out here shortly.
Yeah. Or another car can come through there and finish it off.
Yeah.
That reminds me, when you meet with the emergency, the training that.
Yeah, with Birch.
Is Birch going to be there?
Yeah, Birch is doing it.
Okay, could you make sure, because evidently he's the guy that makes decision on stage 1, stage 2 and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I'd just like to know how he does it.
Okay.
And how much can we do to pressure him to keep it on stage 1 the whole time?
Okay. I will talk to Birch about that.
That's a joke.
Anything else for Public Works? Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Special presentations. We have Eagle River Water and Sanitation District with us this evening. They're going to give us an idea of what we're looking at the coming summer.
Not good.
In other words, just to let your brain, if you haven't zero escaped yet, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, I did last fall.
We did it about 5 years ago, so. The reason the same of us like this. Okay.
So I'm Allison Evans with Eagle River Water and Sanitation District. I'm the Water Conservation Manager. Kind of been thinking about lately. And we're just giving kind of a high level overview of, what we're seeing, the data, and some of the actions we're taking with our water customers to help help deal with this really dry year. So this chart shows the total annual average, the average annual flow at the gypsum station going back to 1951. And so I think to just kind of take a zoomed back view at it and look at where we have these low points, which are the lowest points are highlighted brown and red. And you know, we can see that that's always happened. As we all know, we've lived here, it's an arid climate, but we are seeing those kind of more extreme dry years happening more frequently as we get more recent in time. This year obviously is not on this yet because this is about flow, but it's looking probably comparable to about the worst years we have on this chart so far, if I had to speculate. So we're looking at a number of indicators. The district last year passed a water shortage response plan, which looked at a number of environmental indicators that we can use to understand, like, are we going to be in water shortage, and what should we do about it? What can we do about it? I will note that the dates on here, this year is pretty unprecedented. So those dates are as in the plan. We're probably looking at a bit of a shift in the timing for most of these. A little bit earlier. The first indicator though is snowpack. So our April 1st snowpack historically has been a really good predictor of what our peak flow is going to be in the water supply in general. Today is April 1st and the snowpack is 6.87 inches. 3.87, sorry, I knew I said that wrong. 3.87. We're looking for like a minimum of 15 inches to feel like we're going to be in a good spot with our water. So we are well below that. The highest we hit was about 8.6 a few weeks ago. The second indicator we're looking for is peak flow. So the timing is kind of important and the flow is important. We're looking for about 1200 CFS. Snowpack really is a good predictor of peak flow, so we're not expecting to hit that. And I think, you know, to the point of the timing, we typically see peak flow in May or June. Looking at what's going on, probably going to be quite a bit earlier. Which brings us to indicator 3, which is low flow. Low flow is when we hit 100 CFS or lower. So that's the kind of point where we start to see things like fishing restrictions for heat and that sort of thing, those flows. And that's when we really have to start augmenting for use in particular to make sure we're meeting the state's in-stream flow requirements for aquatic life. So when we get to that low flow period is when, you know, it also usually coincides with high water use for irrigation. And so that's a time when we're really paying attention and it can, you know, we need to really use our water supplies out of the reservoirs. So that's another indicator. We want to know when we're hitting that and how long we expect that low flow period to last. And then the last major indicator with the date anyway is the reservoir levels. So far, those are the reservoir levels are in pretty good shape at the moment, but you know, we are looking at a pretty dry situation, and we need to see if they fill based on everything we've got going on. And then the other indicator we use is the drought stage, the drought severity stage that comes from federal sources, which we'll look at a little bit. So water supply in general, this is today's graph. This is the average of the Vail, Copper, and Fremont SNOTEL sites. This is what we use for our snow water equivalent graph. As I mentioned, we're at 3.87. And we're, you know, taking kind of this blue line at the bottom is this year. The red line is the average of the previous 3 driest years on record. And the black line is average from 1991 through 2020. So, I mean, no surprise, everybody knows we're well below average. This big red box is the 15-inch line. And so obviously we didn't get anywhere near that and we're already really dropping in the snowpack. So we're in uncharted territory, I think. And then, you know, as far as the drought conditions, Eagle County drought conditions, the county in the last week did all enter into this exceptional drought phase. So the last thing, I think this is kind of, you know, getting into what we can do, which Lauren will talk about more, but this graph is looking at average use for our service area throughout the year. And so this lower dashed line is showing kind of what we consider average indoor use, which is essentially based on winter use. And then that big sail looking thing in the middle is summer use. And that peak is really due to irrigation. So a couple important things about this are that indoor use, about 95% of what you use indoor goes into sewer, gets treated at one of the plants and gets back into the river. So, you know, 5% is still some loss, but, you know, a good chunk of that goes back to the river. Whereas with irrigation, we estimate that maybe like 20% is getting back to the river, maybe not, depends a little where you are, what the irrigation looks like. And as this graph pretty clearly shows, irrigation is a much higher volume of use in general. And so it's kind of this compounding effect where you have higher volumes going onto the landscape and then much less of it is staying or getting back into the system. So a lot of our actions are focused heavily on outdoor use, especially because there's a lot of it that's pretty excessive. But that's not to say that indoor use doesn't matter. 5% of a big number is still a big number, so we can make gains there. But kind of the lowest hanging fruit is going to be in outdoor.
Hi, I'm Lauren Snyder. I'm the Government Public Relations Manager for the district. I'm going to go through the next few slides pretty quickly. They're related to our water customers and potential fines we might be levying, but I think it's really important for us all. I've had really great conversations with Town of Eagle, Town of Gypsum, Red Cliff about what our response is going to be. And just wanted to share that information so you all have that information should you move into something similar. It's always good to collaborate and have good communication. Here are residential tiers. When you get into tiers 4 and 5, that's mainly where our fines are focused on. Those are folks that use 18,000 or more gallons per month of water. You'll see the little waffle boxes on the bottom. Those colors associate with people in those tiers. So you'll see the majority of our customers use in tiers 1 through 3. And then you look on the right side, and that's how much water is used by our customers. So 14% of our customers are in tier 4 and 5. They use 45% of the water annually. That is why you'll see we have a 5-stage response that we have for a water shortage or potential water shortage. The stage 1 and 2, sorry, the yellow is pretty hard to see. Those are really preventative in nature, trying to prevent a water shortage. And then starting in stage 3 through 5, that's really a board has declared a water shortage. We know that water flow, our supply is going to be very low, and you'll see escalating tiers of charges and fines associated with that. So as our risk goes higher, the fines, surcharges will go with that, similar to what you would see maybe with fire stages, right? You go to stage 1, and then as you go higher, we're getting a lot more serious about curtailing water use, specifically outdoor water use.
Are the tier 4 and 5 users evenly distributed, or are they more focused in certain communities?
We have tier 4 and 5 customers, I would say, in every community. Certainly the percentage of that makes up that community is targeted in specific areas of our service area.
Which of the areas have the highest percentage of tier 4 and tier 5 users?
Do you know the specifics?
Beaver Creek, Bachelor Gulch, Arrowhead, Cordillera, and Mountain Star are kind of where we see the highest percentage.
Thank you.
Lauren, you said a sustainable use was about 18,000 gallons per day for a single family.
That starts tier 4.
Oh, okay. So what was sustainable for a typical?
Tier 1 and tier, so they go in 6,000 gallon.
Oh, so 6 to 12,000.
So 12,000 gallons or less, we are saying is appropriate use.
No.
Usually you get into tier 2 if you're using outdoor irrigation, and that's appropriate outdoor irrigation. So, to just orient you, the majority of our customers use less than 4,000 gallons per month. So 6 times that would be tier 5.
Commercial customers, or this is all?
This is just residential.
This is just residential.
Which is 80% of our.
Okay, so what we're doing, we are trying to launch a campaign called Live Like a Local. Most of us came to this community or grew up here because they love the mountains, right? We love the natural landscape here. I would say most of us believe that columbines or lupines or natural grasses, sage, are just as, if not more beautiful than a turf grass or your hydrangeas. It's natural here, right? We love it. We love Colorado. We are trying to orient our customer base to really change their behavior to live like a local. Locals here know we didn't get any snow this year, so we're going to change our behavior because we know the river flows are low. The amount of time we're going to spend on rivers is going to look different this year. fires are a danger, etc. And so we have a collaboration of a bunch of different entities throughout the valley to kind of anchor to this live like a local mentality to really protect our watershed. As part of that, we also did a collaboration with a few different fire entities throughout the valley because we strongly believe that being fire smart and water smart, they go together very nicely. And so wanted to do some joint talking points. We have a number of our customers who I think have really good intentions of thinking that they need to irrigate the forest behind their house. Just letting everyone know you do not need to irrigate the forest behind your house. Certainly this summer, if you have both a lawn and also individual trees, prioritize the trees this year, right? Not established trees, not part of the forest type of trees, but do not need to irrigate the forest. If you are evacuated, please, please, please do not run your sprinklers. That actually draws from the water availability for firefighters. So running your irrigation system for what could be days or weeks is actually going to dwindle the amount of water resources firefighters have. It's more important to keep your grass short instead of green. So prioritize that. And then again, in the future, really try and focus on native landscaping. Most native landscaping plants know, you know, they're thank you. Thank you. And then fire resistant as well. So, and then collaboration opportunities, just kind of what you should be saying to your own community members. This type of knowledge kind of works wherever you live. Really encourage residents to reduce outdoor water use. Everyone has an impact on our shared watershed. So all the rivers are all impacted by everyone who pulls from them. Let your lawn go dormant. We're not telling people to reduce or to remove turf this year, because if you try and replant something, you're actually going to use more water to plant over where you remove turf. So just let your lawn go dormant. It will come back. It's really hard to kill Kentucky bluegrass. Reduce your sprinkler times. Make sure you're not watering concrete or other things. Really make sure that non-functional turf is not being prioritized. Choosing water-raised perennials. If you want to plant annuals, put them in a pot instead of in the ground. You can save water that way. And then watering on your designated days. I will say we are asking our board next week to a 2-day watering schedule. I don't know if you will have a watering schedule or not, but just so you know, we will probably be moving to 2 days next week. And then we have social media where we talk about river flow, etc. If you're interested in sharing any of that, that would be great. And then last but not least, we have State of the River on May 6th. It's at Donovan Pavilion. The Colorado River District will be joining us. They're bringing the state engineer. They're going to be talking about not just our local watershed, but the Colorado Basin, Colorado River Compact, kind of the greater Western impact of this drought. So lots to learn. You do need to register, but it's a free event and free food. So we'd love for you to come. You can register at the Colorado River District's website. So that's it from us, unless you have questions.
Yeah, I had a question on one of the graphs. I didn't show it. This, I had a question on that. It is the current reservoir levels. And so the purple line being this year, 2026, it starts out low and then it comes right back up to maximum capacity.
I think this year's black, girl.
That's on page 42, I think.
This is current year. Black one.
Yeah, I think this year's the black line that goes like halfway. Purple is 2013, I think.
Right there. The dotted one is the full capacity.
Yeah, this is current year. The black one.
You're wearing your black and white glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was purple. Okay, never mind.
Do we expect UPRC to fill?
We do. We're already actually, it's a good and bad thing, we're already starting to see our reservoirs fill, which is very early for us to see it go up by 2 plus feet. I think Eagle Park went up by 6 feet, which is concerning, right? It shouldn't be going this early.
We are on the pumps already.
How often do you check the status? Like say we start getting, I know this rain is just not even going to go an inch deep. So if we start getting like a wet spring or something like that, are y'all checking the status of everything? And if so, could you give us a bulletin on that if you do?
Yeah, absolutely. We
Okay.
are checking. I mean, it's a hard year, right? We ended last summer in a drought, so it's been dry for a long time. So the ground is just going to soak it all up.
Yeah.
We don't expect a lot of the rain to actually make it to the rivers because the ground is just going to soak it up.
I think the other reality is that the snowpack is really our reservoirs, right? And that slow release of the snowpack is what kind of gives us water throughout the year. So rain certainly contributes to that, but typically most of our snow. So I don't know if we have like great data, honestly, or even great predictions on if, you know, the majority comes as say we had a really wet year, but it's all coming as rain. I don't know if we actually have a great prediction of how that with the lack of
Our
snow.
main source is Cross Creek.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly concerned about that. We have a monitor on that, and I think y'all do too, or maybe you share the information with us, but you probably ought to take a look at that and see what that's happening on that creek.
Lauren, can I ask a question? It's Cindy.
Hi.
Hi. Can you go back? I know this is more of, I guess, a fire specific thing maybe than a water thing, but the slide that showed the defensible space around homes, I feel like that's something that people maybe don't think a lot about. I just thought that was important to touch on.
Yeah, you're not supposed to put any type of landscaping within 5 feet of your home, period. So if you see any of your neighbors or you do it, please make sure you have a very nice defensible space. No irrigation within or no landscaping within 5 feet of your house. Some folks also like outside of 100 square feet, you also don't need to be irrigating outside of there. It actually creates more fuel for your fires by having a lot of underbrush.
Lauren, what is the guidance or directive to cemeteries, golf courses, places with a lot of turf?
So we don't have any golf courses on our public water supply. We have reached out to most of the golf courses, asking them to reduce where possible. They have their own water rights. I was actually in a meeting with quite a few of them just yesterday, talking about what they can do to conserve water. So I know it's top of mind for them. If they could potentially have an impact on the river. If they pull, we might have to replace with our reservoirs. So it's a complicated system. That's why we're going out to everyone that will listen. We all have an impact on our shared water supply. We all have an impact on the rivers. So.
And letting turf go brown is not really a threat to the turf for a season. So
No.
It's tolerable.
Yes.
It's really, really hard to kill there.
Good to know. I don't think people always understand that.
I was like on that line. Are any of the partner agencies in the Live Like a Local campaign developing like a list of like, I don't know, like a tour of homes or something? I'm like, oh, this is like a example of Firewise and like ideals there, because I think a lot of people hear about these things and they think, oh my God, I've got to put rocks and cactuses.
Yeah.
And it's not really what we're trying to do here. If there's, I don't know.
Yeah, so we are trying on our social media to do like a water heroes type of series where we go out to people's yards saying, look at what a great job they did. They cut it by 10,000 gallons a month or something. We also rely heavily on Beyond Lawn, which is through Eagle County Conservation District. They do an excellent job. If you go to their website, they have a really great explanation about what plants you should plant and what they look like and stuff. So I usually drive people there. Beyond Lawn.
We should ask them to get us a list of places they've looked at or worked on in town. We're such a walking town, and everybody loves to walk around and kind of look. And it'd be cool if there was all the signs that said this has been Beyond Lawn.
Well, you're going to have certified. So
let's do it. Yeah, and signing up for committees and water conservation. Let's go.
Yeah, and water supply, of course, is in danger this year, and I think it's very important that everyone definitely does not irrigate unless they have, if it stays dry like it has been, don't irrigate at all. Let it go brown. We'll deal with it. You can water it next year, hopefully. Yeah, so. Because water supply, I mean, it's in danger. I mean, we may have to I mean, I think Rob even had showed a tank where we were, a portable tank where we might have to truck water in. You know, so that's that serious.
That seed that they sell, I seen it at Home Depot. It said drought tolerant seed. It's kind of like for down in Texas and Arizona. Does that work in our area? Is it something that helps with not having to water?
It can help, I think, Beyond, I would definitely check with Beyond Lawn. I'm not sure what exactly Home Depot is selling.
Scott's was the brand.
Yeah, altitude is a big factor for some of those grasses, but there are some like high altitude, like over 7,000 feet is a pretty important line. So there are some high altitude mixes. Beyond Lawn sells their own. I think in general, as Lauren mentioned, we and they would generally recommend not putting in new seed this year. Like new seed needs to be watered
I
a
didn't
fair
know if
amount.
you could just throw it on the old seed, and if it was hardier than the old seed.
Okay, but like it'll, you know, to really get it established, it probably needs a little bit more water than is necessarily worth it.
Yeah.
But in this year, but yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like if it's a native grass, a lot of those will do really well without any irrigation at all once it gets established and once it's really grown in. And you know, it doesn't have the exact same aesthetic or feel as Kentucky bluegrass, but so certainly if you have a lawn area that people are using like a playground or whatever, bluegrass is probably still going to be hardier. But for anything else, anything that's just something you look at or, you know, in somebody on the side yard, whatever you're talking about, those native grasses can be really nice and you know, get the same effect without needing water at all or very much. So,
Okay.
Absolutely. But I definitely check for something local because I think, yeah, altitude is a pretty big factor for some of this.
Okay. Any other questions?
you.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming.
it.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's see. Okay, we're on to business items. First item is ordinance number 3, series 2026, a request for continuance.
We would like to request a continuance on the wildfire resilience code changes adoptions. We're working on sorting through the consistency with the county's approach and the state's approach. We just need more time.
So ordinance number 3, series 2026, for the regular meeting, April 15th, 2026.
I'll second it.
Motion by Tom, second by Lynn. All in favor? Roll call.
Aye.
Did roll call?
Oh,
Okay,
Brian,
Aye.
Dusty, aye.
And
Eric, aye. And Earl, aye. Next, we have resolution number 18, series 2026, a resolution authorizing a contract with SEH for the Bellum Bridge replacement design services.
The original resolution, the selecting Short Elliott Hendrickson, required us to come back to council for approval on the contract. It's taken us quite some time to do that, but we are here. I have Jeff Spinell, your town engineer, and I have attorney Mike Sawyer here to maybe answer some questions or provide additional information about how we're approaching this and reducing risk. And we're also separating out a subcontract for geotechnical, and maybe Jeff or Mike could speak to that if you need them to.
There's nothing new beyond what we discussed before, correct?
About the work, I don't know. Well, maybe you have things.
No, Mike was the one who wanted us to pull out the geotechnical. There were issues with the SEH contract that concerned you about them being a subcontractor to SEH. You wanted them to be responsible to the town.
Really?
Can you hear us, Mike?
I can, yeah. And the answer is that that's correct, that on the issue of the geotechnical engineer, I wanted there to be privity of contract between the town and that engineer and not have it go through the other engineering firm. And so you'll see the next item on your agenda relates to the geotechnical services. We've been in discussions with a company called Kumar. They, up until yesterday, were still fine-tuning their scope of services to match with the information that SEH was going to need for the bridge design. They did finally get us a revised scope of services at the end of the day. But it was too late to get it on the agenda for today, so we're asking for your authority to move forward with contracting for those services, so long as it comes in within a defined budget amount and, if staff is comfortable with the form of the contract that the geotechnical engineer provides.
That pretty much covered B and C, right? There's nothing further.
Yeah, you could approve, I mean, I guess, I don't, technically, I mean, it's up to, I guess, Mike to provide feedback if necessary, but you could make a motion to approve the SEH contract and probably include in that motion approving the subcontract for Kumar for geotechnical, unless you'd rather separate it.
I think we need to separate it.
All right, separate it. So we'll approve the reso and then a motion of approval on the Kumar separately.
Okay, I'll make a motion, Town of Minturn, Colorado, resolution number 18, series 2026. Resolution of Town Council, Town of Minturn, Colorado, approving authorizing execution of a professional services agreement with Short Elliott Hendrickson Incorporated for design and related services for the Bellum Bridge replacement project.
Second.
Second by Kate.
Is that Kate and then Tom? Tom and Kate?
Tom made the motion, Kate made the second.
Okay, motion by Tom, second by Kate. All in favor of 10C, 10B.
Aye.
And then I have a motion to authorize Kumar.
To authorize negotiation of a contract with Kumar and Associates for geotechnical engineering study for the bridge.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Eric and second by, was that Kate? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Close.
And one quick update on that, Congressman Negus's office did move us past the first phase for congressionally directed spending for this project. So we may get some funds out of that, and that would be fantastic. But, so we continue to work on that.
Make sure you cut that water pipe.
We'll get them the water pipe. And then the next thing we wanted to do was talk about Nelson in first.
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna, the alteration we did is item 11B with the water loop and water main to, I will call it CA. How about that?
Basically want to talk
That's
about
between C and D. Okay, so
Michael had us come out and take a look at, there was a request for some work on the water taps in Williams, and it was discovered at that point that there is a 3-inch PVC water pipe that there's a fire hydrant, you may recall, along Highway 24 right in front of the Magusto's restaurant. Extending from that fire hydrant, there's a 3-inch plastic pipe that goes to up First Street underneath the trash compactor and ends at the in front of the 107 Williams. That piping arrangement in front of that building is non-conforming and frankly a ticking time bomb. To be honest with you, there are 4 meters tapped into 3 service lines from this 3-inch PVC pipe. They're too close to one another, so that pipe is subject to splitting. There's a valve that is not intended to be an underground valve on that line that is corroding and is eventually just going to fail. But further, the 3-inch PVC pipe that comes up First Street is a non-conforming pipe. The minimum size pipe for a main line in Minturn is a 6-inch ductile iron pipe. So this is plastic. It's 3 inches. Nobody seems to know who put it in or who owns it or whatever. And so what really needs to happen is that pipe needs to be replaced with a ductile iron main line, because in addition to the buildings on Williams that are tapped into it. Maguso's is tapped into it, and the country club might be, we found out today. So we've got pipes or service lines tapped into a pipe that's substandard.
I remember when they did that work, and they were pulling wooden water mains out of there
Oh, yeah.
and doing this work, which wasn't obviously a very good job.
When we did the 100 block improvements, we found that wooden that wooden water main, and, you know, so and in fact, there's a very light line on here that you can see going up the hill with a W in it. We believe that is the wooden water main that goes up to the old Minturn tank. So
We wanted to, I mean, we discovered this in the winter and the seriousness of it, we've been trying to figure out, okay, what are our next steps? I wanted to bring it to you to inform you. We're going to try to figure out how we can get our next steps to get this addressed. Jeff provided some cost estimates for this work. We are trying to look at how we can deal with some other problems if we're going to do this. I know we have the streetlight project we talked to you about. We've been talking to some people in the community about improving the surface of Williams Street and improving what is the right of way of First Avenue. So we're trying to maybe figure out, okay, how can we do this? How can we do it quickly? And how can we address some other issues? One of the things, as you may know, is we have a trash compactor that is on First Avenue. We are going to meet with Apex Waste next week and talk about some alternative locations where it could be moved so that we can excavate this street and replace this water line. There may be some grant dollars available to do that. So we're working on that. We have till May to apply. So if there's any questions or direction you'd like to provide, we're going to just kind of keep moving in the direction, try to address this.
This is all clearly the town's responsibility, right?
Mike Sawyer is going to work on addressing some of these issues about the existing property owners who are on a plastic service line that's not a town main line, but we don't exactly know the history of how this came to be or who said what when.
Do we have a time of when that work was done?
The plastic line?
No, we don't know when it went in or who put it in.
Okay, I would guess it was in the 90s, but yeah, in the 80s and 90s, we didn't exactly have the most professional public works department.
It had to have gone in before the trash compactor was put there, because it goes underneath it.
So normally a line that serves more than one property would not be a service line. It would be a town main. And we don't have the history of when this was put in and kind of under what circumstances. The good news is it has lasted as long as it has. Jeff is correct that it's an item that needs to be fixed. I think the opinion that I and Jeff have is that there's going to be redevelopment in this area. So getting lines in that meet current town standards for water mains that can serve future development in this area is a smart way to deal with this when a fix is already needed. And that budget permitting, the best thing to do would be to loop that then back down Williams Street so that we have a looped system in that area. But again, we don't know exactly how it came about, but at this point, a line that's that's intended to serve more than just one residence, that's not a service line, that's a main, and the town should be looking at getting that replaced and bringing it up to standard. And there may be grounds for which we can seek contribution from some of the neighbors to improve that cost or to lower that cost to the town. And as Rob indicated, we're going to take a look at that.
I just gotta move forward with it.
It's a very important area of town. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I applaud you guys for looking forward and thinking about the future, not just replacing what's down there or whatever, but thinking about potential down there.
Well, we've talked about putting in a larger pipe than just the minimum 6-inch to accommodate growth in that area.
Good idea.
It's fed as many farmers as it did.
Thank you, Jeff.
I was gonna say the leash would be here.
Yep.
It's been to do that.
Okay, so. Yes, you've got direction on that, so we're now going to. Resolution number 19, series 2026, resolution approving an application for CPW shooting range grant program.
I think first maybe some discussion, and I know we have Mr. Davis here who lives over there, and I've been communicating by email with him. And I have no issue if he would like to make some comments during this, or if we have any. I don't think we have anybody online, but I've been having some back and forth with the residents. Obviously, this has been a longstanding issue for the town. Not a lot of great options. I think, and as I've said before, there's really two options, and one is, entering a management structure where the town, starts taking more accountability for the maintenance and enforcement of this area. Or the option two, which is the relocation. The challenge with option two is that when it comes to relocation, we need two things. We need a place for it to go, and we need a champion. And if the property is somewhere much further from town, the question becomes, is the town the champion of that? And how would we do that? And if it's miles and miles from town, it gets harder and harder for us to be like, yeah, we can help lead a project to relocate and manage a shooting range. So I have been of the perspective of, if we want we want to address this problem in a reasonable time frame, that management would probably be our best approach. I did take a look back over at the Keystone Policy Report that was done, and it basically came at that issue the same way. There's two ways to do this, and maybe it's a combo of both. So I did get some correspondence back. I sent you a memo as part of the packet from U.S. Forest Service. There are some things there that are an issue that we're going to have to address and talk with them about. I'm going to talk with Michael Beach with the Forest Service next week, bring up some of my initial concerns, some of the concerns I've heard from the group of residents that lives in that area, and whatever concerns you bring up. In the memo, I talked about assumption of operational and safety responsibility. That's a big issue. I have a contact with CIRSA that Jay gave me. There may be some other insurance options on there. That's a key thing that we'd have to look at. The existing safety deficiencies, I think in the way that the Forest Service drafted our documents, I'm not crazy about that. I think that Forest Service, if we did move down a pathway, is going to need to say, look, this is not an improved range. There are major deficiencies here, and the town is not accountable or liable for those type of deficiencies. There's obviously environmental issues in shooting ranges. There's lead contamination. I think we need to look at all the assessment that they've done, and the most recent one of what is that level of contamination, looking at options for mitigation. I talked with a gentleman from CPW today. He talked about another range that received CPW funds, and they were able to do mitigation and new berms for $50,000. He gave me a contractor that does that, so we can maybe talk with him about what that would look like. And then, of course, there's maintenance and operational obligations. So that's kind of like the quick 411. I think it would be good for some discussion with council about where we are on this issue. One thing I will highlight is that in my recent correspondence with the residents over there, the option of the town taking over management of the range is not something that they're very supportive of or optimistic about. So that is their feedback.
I can start off on it a little bit. I know we just talked about this probably 3-4 months ago about the town taking control over it. I think the biggest reason why most of us felt we needed control over it was last summer. We ended up in the stage 2 or stage 3, and the Forest Service never shut it down for probably 3 weeks. We had to contact them, and finally it got shut down. This would give us control over that. I do understand that's going to put more of a workload on the staff to do that, but we just got to realize that this is on Forest Service property. It's owned by the Forest Service. The town it's not even annexed into the town. We're trying to do this to kind of look out for the fire prevention for the town. As far as just saying, we could close it down, we don't have that authority. Forest Service has control over it. We could just say, hey, we don't really want it, which that's been brought to them before. And they're like, well, you got to have an alternative site. That's not that simple to find an alternative site in our area. Everybody doesn't want it in their backyard. The downfall is if it just did go away, people will be out shooting wherever they legally can, 50 or 100 yards. I don't remember what the amount was off of a road. Somebody might not want to go to Gypsum to go sight their gun in. They're going to go to Tigawon and go shoot up there and get it sighted in for hunting. Somebody could get killed. Are we going to feel good about that? That, oh, we got our gun range shut down, but we got somebody killed out in the woods. I see that as a big problem. And that's as big as the safety problem as, a fire danger too, which I think our main goal is to protect our town from burning down. And if we had control over the gate to where we could do that, we would at least have that benefit that we don't have right now. That's my feeling on it.
I think to add to that, it comes down to the key word is control. So obviously residents in the near area not thrilled about the noise, particularly the early morning hour shooting and a variety of other things. So some of your proposals, like we talked about in regards to actually having somebody out there, that's never going to happen with this county sheriff's department. It's certainly not going to happen with Forest Service. So the reality is we have a very immediate short-term issue that's going to come up based on the brief we just got with Eagle River. We're going to have serious problems this summer. The sooner we're able to put our hands around that and control that, the better. We cannot accept how last summer went, and that timeline delay is unacceptable. So as much as from a short-term perspective, residents aren't a huge fan of it in the local area, I would push towards key component, get control of it, and then sort it out from there. Long term, if ultimately the town wants to divest itself of this range, and option 2 is explored and something comes up, great, and then the town can make that decision. But I would argue, at least for the next 2-3 years, we just need to get control of the range to do 2 key items. One already Gusty mentioned, and then 2 is have more control over access and use of that range to at least mitigate and reduce problems that we've had for years at that range, Aspen as well. Because God knows the last we need is a moron going out there and putting an accelerant in the impact area and then shooting. Then our whole day is screwed.
Which happens.
Within our day.
Well, it's clear to me that we don't have a viable option other than keeping the range. And under those circumstances, it seems to me that there's no choice but to take over the management. And I don't even see any controversy in that regard. It's something we have to do to protect our community.
A few just additional items as far as what I've been thinking, and I reached out to these residents because they've lived there for a long time. They know when the problems are occurring, and it seems to be a 4 p.m., 8 p.m. window, particularly weekends. And so I think for us, this would be a phase strategy of what can we do right away. And, I talked with Mike Martinez about, we have capacity in our payroll for another public works employee. We could, in the short term, talk about having maybe one public works employee work a later shift where they're focused on just being over there. We could have a enforcement ranger type truck. We could also look at renting like a mobile camera, put it at Little Beach Park or right at the end of public works. We have Wi-Fi over there where we could track which vehicles are coming in and out. But I think even just the presence of an individual patrolling that area in these peak times would be quite a game changer for us. I think over the long term, and I talked with Councilor Priest about this, of looking at maybe getting permission from Forest Service to have a caretaker location out there, because I'm sure we could easily find somebody who would be interested in, camping for the summer and being there and administering the site, and then having that person like on the ground most evenings. So then if we hear complaints from residents or we hear a concern, it's like we've got somebody, they can check it out. So those are some of the things we've looked at. I think they are doable in the short term, just to provide that context of what we're looking at.
I think Lynn's point about there not being any alternatives is short term true, and I think this is all awesome for the short term. But I guess my question is, when you guys were looking and going through the process, like what other stakeholders were involved? Like Ebro County, like if fire happens out there, it's just bigger than Minturn.
Did that in what, 2018?
So that's what I guess my question is.
It's about 40 to 50 participants in the Keystone Policy Study.
And like nobody else, it just seems like it's always comes back to like, well, Minturn's got to find a new place for it. It's like,
because it's like a hot potato. Nobody's going to come out and be like, yeah, we're going to take this shooting range from you. We'd love it.
Well, but like the county, I have no idea.
They didn't want it neither, Brian. They have their range that's up there by the landfill that they use for the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
And that was brought up and they said no. They didn't want to do that.
And that was almost 10 years ago.
No, that was just within the last 4 or 5 years when we got off of that committee, when the Keystone finished up. I was actually on council at the time, and Terry stepped down and I got on for about the last 2 months, and that was the response that they had. They weren't really, honestly, it's a hot potato that nobody wants.
I get that other towns. It just seems like we could try to get some stake, like the fight, like wildfire. Like there's so many entities in town that could put pressure on the county to step up for everybody. Seems like that would be the only people who would do it. Like obviously Avon's
government, Eagle County is the only one that can do anything with this.
Yeah.
There's money out there. NRA has a grant program for this kind of stuff. So I'm seeing this this summer, if we can just get the control of it, then we can just do what we can right now. And hopefully we can find someone that, you go to campgrounds and the guys managing the campgrounds all just pull up an RV and set themselves up. So maybe we can find a guy like that, and then that would help. That would help a lot. And then as we move forward, as we gain experience on this thing, maybe we can start getting. I mean, I was stunned that $50,000 would allow us to harm it and all that. That's not.
It was like Berman remediation is what the quote he gave me. So that was
might take a while. I was thinking burning would be a huge expense, but I guess not. They should know. But anyway, I think we do need to get control of it. I understand, Gusty, I understand your opinion on it, and but I'd rather not have our valley burned down. So I think that's kind of.
Well, that's my opinion too, Earl. I don't want to see it burned down. I'm in favor of us taking control and having a gate.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
I think we all agree.
Yeah.
If I could just say something, when I first started with the town, we were working along with someone who was kind of taking care of the shooting range, and they had a dumpster back there, and we'd have to go down there on Wednesday mornings and grab the dumpster with the loader. But I mean, there was toilets, sinks, furniture, anything a person can shoot at, they were shooting at it.
Yeah.
And it was a mess. So taking on that endeavor is gonna be taking control of it. We will have to take control of it.
Okay.
So
Rob, would you like to give us some input, please? Okay.
State my name.
State your name, your address.
Rob Davis at
Never seen you before.
16th Street. We definitely, all the people down at the Cross Creek character area, we do not want to see another Basalt El Jabal event happen. We do not want to see a Paradise happen. We don't want that. And my fear is taking it over the management is we have to move slowly and deliberately with the Forest Service so that we're not being their pawns. We want something back. We want to manage it the way that we see fit, which is safety, which is sound, which is allowing citizens to use that area, which has been used for hiking and biking and dog walking and running and everything else you can imagine. Those people are highly impacted by the bad shooters that are there. Many are good, but I don't think that we're against. I would like to have at least the right to close it down, shut the gate, when there's a red flag going on, and the Forest Service has different standards for calling out of fire closure, as we've seen in the past. It would be great, and I would move slowly and nurture this relationship with the Forest Service to see if we can take over the fire management, because the fire problems at the shooting range are much different than at Meadow Mountain site for the Forest Service, and I know that in many cases they have their hands tied by their regulations, but I would move very slowly with the Forest Service. And I would also keep on the table alternative site. Although we found sites that were usable, the Forest Service did not want to give up that site. They don't want a management. They don't want to have to do the dirty work. And in that way, it's very frustrating. And being on that shooting committee, I learned a lot about the Forest Service, and although they kind of sidestepped their own rules and regulations when they developed that site, and in that they didn't collaborate with the town or the citizens, they just skirted the regulations and did the improvements. But I could foresee a management plan, but it would have to be from the bike park all the way down to Cross Creek. If you close the range, you can go 50 yards north and you're on Forest Service land, and the rules for firearms are back in play.
Yeah, we actually were talking about that at the RTAP series of sessions we had last week. And the VDMTA representative was there, I can't remember his name. He mentioned it. Well, why don't you just change the access to 2L campground, and then maybe you can have control of the gate that goes to the shooting range. So it's just a matter of, okay, what's to keep them from taking the 2L road and then come back around and go to the shooting range. So there's some things that would have to be worked out, but that's access. Being able to separate access would be a huge thing to be able to pull off if you can.
Right, and then it was also discussed that maybe moving the trailhead to the gate area. So you have to get to a creek. You got to walk 7/10 of a mile down the road. Yeah. And there's plenty of day parking at Amphitheater Park.
I don't know how you could block off the cars, because you could always drive down the tracks. I've seen people do that a lot, and get there that way.
Yeah, there's always somebody who's gonna find a way.
But I don't know that we have the option of moving slowly right now, given the crisis that we may be facing this summer with respect to danger. And I think if, the fire danger reaches a certain level, and we're managing the gun range, we just close it, period.
Absolutely. And I'm for that. I'm not against that. No, that makes perfect sense. Because we all love this town. It's been called the tinderbox of Eagle County. We know how fragile it is. And we do know that insurance company now have placed us in a high fire risk danger where, I have a bunch of cabins down there, and it's tough getting insurance because we're just in that area that's dedicated as a 87 out of 100 chance of a wildfire.
One thing I found out recently, Rob, was that the Forest Service doesn't do the stage 1, stage 2 decisions. The county emergency services, Birch Barron is the head of that department. I can't remember the name of the department, but
The forest does their own.
Emergency management.
And then it gets routed through this crazy thing. It goes all the way to DC and then all the way back. Because remember last summer, everybody was losing their minds. And it was like they had that fire, and it was like Luann was like, I have to get this signed from this person in DC, and like I haven't been here, and I can't sign this. And that was, what was it? Like a week or two after we entered the restriction. So it's a nightmare.
Well, and they're like I didn't see the news. The Forest Service is undergoing like a major reorganization.
Oh well, yeah.
So that who knows what that'll do.
Well, why not try and just get the ability to monitor the fire conditions there and follow the county, follow, what all the sensible people do, do the same thing and close it down, and then build upon what the next thing to do is, like maybe get Western Slope to indemnify their high pressure gas line, which runs right through the middle of the shooting range, in case there's a leak and a fire ignites.
So I want to.
Unlikely, but utilities are becoming very well known for having failures. Like,
So when Rob and I conducted some research into what the options were for the town, and this was then confirmed with the Forest Service, under the Dingle Conservation anyways, the John Dingle law related to hunting, fishing, and recreational shooting, the Forest Service cannot close down a shooting range unless if there is an alternative range that is opened. So it's a 1-for-1. And the Forest Service has said they will not move this range because they have nowhere to move it to and they don't have the resources to move it. That would mean that to close the shooting range at Two Elk, the town, as Rob indicated, the town would have to open a range somewhere else. And there are significant management challenges and funding challenges for that. Or we would have to get the county or somebody else to open a range to take the place of this one. And as several members on council astutely said, it's a hot potato. Nobody's going to do that. The only way that the town can exercise control over whether the range is open or not is to get a management permit to manage the range from the Forest Service. The town nor the county has the ability to declare emergencies and shut down Forest Service lands. It is a federal supremacy issue. We do not have the authority to just go and lock the gate onto Forest Service property. And we have been around and around on this, and I wish there were a better decision that for the good citizens in South Minturn would mean that this range would go away, but there isn't. That if we want to protect the town and have the ability to regulate what happens there, the town has to be the manager. And we have spent a lot of time on this. And so if if the council believes that it is important for the town to have that regulatory tool to try and mitigate fire risks, that's your option. If not, you got to be prepared to live with what the Forest Service management is willing to provide, and it's next to nothing.
I think the only other thing that could happen, and it would be extremely optimistic to assume it could, but have a political solution depending on who's in control in Washington. So, I mean, they have to do what Congress tells them to do, right?
Well, that's what
So,
happened this summer.
I'm going to move that we approve Town of Minturn Resolution number 19, Series 2026, resolution of the Town Council, Town of Minturn, Colorado, authorizing the submission of an application to Colorado Parks and Wildlife for shooting range development grant and authorizing the town manager to execute related documents.
Second.
All right, motion by Lynn, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Now we're off to a legislative update.
I don't have anything that's
Okay.
major concerning unless you saw something. To follow up the last meeting, we approved correspondence on the bill that the county is supporting. That's moving forward. I produced correspondence. I sent it to our representatives. I sent it to everybody on the committee. I also sent it to Dylan Roberts. Said thank you for sponsoring this bill. He said we appreciate the town. And then on the bill for redevelopment of Superfund sites, I sent that out to the sponsors. I sent it out to the committee. That's still in process. So thank you for support on that. Any other comments about current legislation or concerns? Cool. We'll stay in the loop on that.
Well, thank you for moving that on. Now we have the water treatment plant financing timeline of events.
I just wanted to circle back on this from the last meeting. You gave us direction to negotiate with Columbia in Alpine. I got the day after that, I contacted Alpine. I said, hey, we are not loving holding $2 million. We need other options. They came back with two options. One of a 5% interest rate with no deposit, two, a 4.65% interest rate with $1 million deposit for the term of the loan. Then I got the term sheet for Columbia, which I apologize to Gusty about not having that. Gusty started looking at that, I think the Thursday night or the Friday night. One of the first things
And Jill.
Yeah, and Jill. And he texted me, Jill, they called me and were like, hey, there's a provision in here on the 2-year withdrawal, and it would require a minimum $500,000 withdrawal every month, which is basically Columbia telling us you need to pull the full 12 million in the first 2 years, which was not what we were hoping for. We were hoping for flexibility to not pull all the amount if we didn't need it all. So that immediately made clear of that's not workable. And so when I went back to Alpine and I confirmed, hey, do we have a minimum withdrawal requirement? They said no. So it seemed like the answer was Alpine. The cost between Columbia and Alpine, basically the same. So we went with option one, 5% interest rate. We don't have to keep money in the bank. And that works out. So on the 15th, we will have our attorney here, Mike Sawyer. We will have our municipal advisor. We will have bond counsel, Tim Peltz, who will be attending remotely to go over all the work that's occurred thus far, the ordinance, everything, the terms. We'll get that information to you. If you review it before the meeting and you have concerns or things, just hit me up and say, wait a minute, what is this? So we can make sure we have everything for you here on the 15th. We also will be bringing information regarding the payoff of some existing water system debt that we've had for a long time. That would be an issue, as we talked about at the last meeting, for entering into this financing. And we will also have anticipated rate adjustments for raising the water rates in June of 2026 to pay for this. Anything that I missed? No. Any questions of what has occurred?
Thanks for all your work on this.
Thank you. I'm sorry for not having that at that meeting. Sorry about that.
We'll make sure there's no supply of tar or feathers in the town on or about June. Water rate is.
Can I ask one question? And this is actually dispense. I just want to make sure he's got the warm and fuzzy on this one because he's going to step up at the next meeting. And if you've got any questions, if you've got any learning curve that you need, I mean, you know what I mean? I don't
Specifically this?
any this and anything else.
No, I'm up to date.
Okay, I just want to make sure that because you always, yeah, I'm good, but I want to make sure that you are good and because this one is.
You better be.
But this is.
I'll just follow along with everyone else does.
Oh, boy.
I just want to make sure.
All right.
Okay, so next thing on is future agenda items. Anybody have anything they want
Just to follow up on so what you approved was the grant for CPW. I'm going to throw together some things that we would look for. I'm going to meet with Forest Service next week and say, look, these are things that we are very concerned about. I'm going to prepare. And then from there, we'll take some steps and I'll touch base with Mr. Sawyer and say, hey, can you take a look at what we would be endeavoring into so we can kind of give you that view. I don't know if that's going to be the 15th or May 6th. We'll see. But then on the 15th, we have new council member. We have the Vail Valley Foundation coming in on GoPro mountain games. We have the water revenue bond second reading and a second reading adopting the state wildfire resiliency code. I don't think we know anything else yet.
Should we put up the solar fields as a future agenda item?
The solar field for the tailings pile. I mean, we could put it on here. I met with Blair McGeary from Excel last week. I talked to her about our concerns. He is going to, I think, come and talk to us on the 6th or the 20th. I'll get with Cindy on that and just talk about what's going on in Excel, how they want to raise our rates, why they want to do that, our concerns about wildfire, our concerns about the sidewalk project that is scheduled for the first week of May to start. I told Blair, I was like, if you come in here after the 1st of May and you guys haven't started work on that gas line relocation, you're going to be coming into a hot crowd. So if that started, it's going to be a lot easier for you. She was compliant. And I talked with her about the solar range on the consolidated tailings pile or cap tailings pile. She's sent me a contact to schedule a meeting with a gentleman that's involved with energy purchasing contracts and said this would be the person to talk to. And then I'm reaching out to Holy Cross Energy about that. And I talked with Kim Burke from Walking Mountains this morning about their assistance on that. We touched base. I told her I'd get back to her on an email. And just a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks. It's wild. I talked with Kim Burke as well about the Highlands parcels and a memo I prepared for Eagle Valley Land Trust on a conservation rec opportunity. I'm going to send that to Walking Mountains too. They're going to send it to some people that they know that maybe could provide some assistance on that pathway.
Yeah, we got that guy, Matthew Popkin, I think his name is.
Yeah, he's a consultant of some kind.
Rocky Mountain Institute. And he is very knowledgeable about his stuff. So it's nice to finally run across somebody who knows what they're doing.
Cindy, anything else? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
What do you got?
You can give it to somebody else.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Eric, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.